What's up, you guys? It's Gwen, and I am just chilling out here. I should have brought my tripod, but what does this say? I'm practicing going live via I'm not even on my MacBook. I don't know why that keeps popping up. But anyways, so I'm just hold on. My cord's plugged in. So anyways, my sister got this book. My sister-in-law got this book, and she said she read it straight through. It was really good. And she said she read it straight through in 2 days. So I'm gonna try. I'm gonna test it out, see how good it is. I love a book you can read just straight through, you know what I mean? Sorry if I sound a bit hoarse. But anyways, okay, so this is the book, Bunny XO. You guys know Jelly Roll's wife. It's an autobiography. The back here says, I didn't clean up for the world. I rose up for myself. Bunny XO, stripped down, unfiltered, and unapologetic. So let's see what Bunny has got to say. Wife, bonus mom, CEO, creator, director of her own destiny. This is what trauma turned into power looks like. Yeah, show me that. That's what I want to know. Show me what trauma turned into power. To the people who protected me and loved me when they didn't have to, thank you. Y'all are my chosen family, and I'll forever be in debt to you. To the people who tried to break me, I've only got one thing to say to you. I changed your names to protect my peace, not yours. Alright, looks like we got 32 chapters with a 276 page book. Let's see how far we can get. Alright, I'm just going to go ahead and take this. Well, maybe I won't take it off because people want to know. This is what the front part looks like here. Alright, so Bunny XO, stripped down, unfiltered, and unapologetic. Read to you by Gwen Stacy. Hope you guys can hear me alright. And I'm not going to be checking the comments. I'm just going to read. See if you guys will enjoy a little literature with me here. Alright, so, chapter 1, still here. The thing about me is that I should be dead. But in those last few minutes before it all went dark, I was riding high. My girl Tamara behind the wheel of my Cadillac Escalade EXT. Nice. Blasting music and screaming at the top of our lungs. I lay my head down on the edge of the door, letting the cool breeze tingle across my skin through the open window. I wasn't thinking about the man waiting at home for me, or how Tamara and I constructed an alibi so I could get some damn breathing room. Wish I could get some damn breathing room around these flies. Sorry. And sorry for cussing in advance. Like I said, I'm just reading here. Okay, anyways, he thought we were with a client, and there was no reason for him to know the truth. I don't let people drive. I need to be in the driver's seat, the one in control. But even I could feel I was too far gone, and she was completely sober. So I gave her the keys and stopped thinking. I didn't think about the F-250 barreling down the other side of the highway, getting closer. I didn't think about anything but the bright, sparkling lights of the strip growing fainter as Tamara drove us home. Tamra. T-A-M-R-A. Tamra. When it hit us at 70 miles per hour, my brain went to the crackling static between radio stations. All 6,000 pounds of the Escalade flipped into the air, and everything slowed down. Without a seatbelt to keep me in place, I arced through the car in slow motion. I swear you could have played a classical concerto as I was tossing around like a rag doll. Metal crunching, window shattering, then finally, crack. I hit the windshield face first. My legs whipped up behind me like a scorpion. Crunch. I came down in the driver's seat, twisted metal and broken glass everywhere. I couldn't get my bearings and finally clocked Tamra hanging over me by her seatbelt. Tamra, you okay? I asked. Sorry about the plane. You okay? I asked. I couldn't see her face, just her body gone limp. Yeah, I'm okay. Thank God. I smelled gas and I knew we had to get the fuck out. I unhooked her seatbelt and her dead weight slammed on top of me. The entire front windshield was crushed, but somehow the driver's side window was still intact. Smoke filled the car, so I kicked the window out. It was only a matter of time before the fire would start. Dazed, I pulled myself and then Tamara out. I still had my phone on me. I called Eric and told him we flipped my truck and I needed him to come and get me before the cops came. You're a lying bitch, he said. You didn't get into a wreck. You sound way too calm. Going silent eerily calm in the face of a crisis is a textbook trauma response, but it would be years before I'd even begin to understand how much I needed to heal. Out on the road with broken glass all around us, I hung up the phone. Fuck this motherfucker. I'll get back to you later, bud. The cops pulled up and everything started to go black. I did the only thing I could think to do. I took off running like a bat out of hell. Why are you running? The cops screamed after me. I don't talk to police, I screamed back. You're in shock, he yelled. You need to sit the fuck down. I should be quiet, my neighbors are going to be pissed. But I kept going, one foot in front of the other, running for my life. Or maybe I was trying to run from my life, to outrun everything that had come before. I put my whole body into running, but lit as I was, I must not have gotten very far. The cops caught up with me easily. Hell, maybe I was even running in place. Someone strapped me to a gurney. Lights out. I'm going to be really honest with you. I spent most of my life trying to get up and get out, to run as fast as I could to escape the pain and the trauma in the past. Whether I was bombed out of my mind on drugs and booze, slipping from one toxic relationship to another, creating drama and revealing the chaos, packing up to change my life and start fresh, or trying to save people because it made me feel like I was the better person. Or a better person, I'm sorry. I was an absolute expert at flooding my bloodstream with numbing agents. But I've got news for you. None of that shit works. At least not in the long run. Eventually, I had to get healthy and get therapy and get honest. I had to start seeing myself as worthy of healing and protecting. It's a process. It's still a process. And I'm not done. I'm blessed that my husband and obviously she wrote this when they were still married. And I was blessed with that my husband and I found each other. But that wasn't all Cinderella and Prince Charming from the jump. We both tried to dip a time or two, but maturity, twisted wisdom, and true fucking connection has brought us to where we are now. And now they're divorced. But anyways, I'm blessed that I get to parent our daughter and watch her grow up surrounded by love, but our happy family didn't come easily. I'm blessed to find so much recognition among the flawed, imperfect, beautiful humans out here trying to heal and grow, who find me online or at shows or listen to every single podcast and make me feel less alone. I'm blessed to finally be at peace with myself. The life I have now wouldn't be possible without acknowledging that I had to stop doing what I was doing. Running away into the arms of a man, into the embrace of a high, or into my own destruction wasn't leading me anywhere good. I had to find and keep real love, especially for myself. I had to learn how to stay put, to sit still in the pain, to stop pushing away the trauma, and to let this body heal. God never left me, and I had to learn how to accept his blessings by showing up for myself like he always had. I had to face death many times over, to look the Grim Reaper in the eye and tell him I wasn't ready to go with him just yet. Writing this book is part of the healing. I'm not perfect, and my story isn't always pretty. It's a testimony of many, many failed hits on my life and an honest excavation of the times when I was the one to try to pull the trigger. It's living proof that when the darkness seems like it's going to pull you under, we're still all worth saving, you and me. I'm still here living and breathing and feeling. Thank God. Chapter 2, Unholy Matrimony. If you guys are just tuning in, I am reading Stripped Down, Unfiltered, and Unapologetic by Bunny XO. We have a sip of some agua with the vitamin C. I am parched. Read to you by Gwen Stacy. So, chapter 2. Before I was Bunny, before the drugs, the men, and the money, before everything I am today, I was just a bouncy little brunette baby girl named Alyssa in Houston, Texas. My pops was a musician, and a great one at that. Bill Carter was a lead guitarist and lead singer in a big Texas band called BC and Company. He lived the rocker life, and all the cliches of sex, drugs, and rock and roll were Bill's legacy. Like when he stole the lead singer of ZZ Top's girlfriend and found himself facing down bullets through the sunroof of his limo. Dad played the circuits, and he was even supposed to sing The Gambler. Dad played the circuits? Circuits. Forgive me, you guys. And he was even supposed to sing The Gambler, but the higher-ups and the United Artists gave it to Kenny Rogers instead. Bill held a grudge. We weren't allowed to even mention Kenny's name in our household, or whatever Dad said, and whatever Dad said went. My pops was born in Queens, New York, to my Brazilian grandmother, Zenedy, and his father, Bill Sr. It wasn't an ideal home for any kid. His father was a vice president of Velvo Line Oil Company, and my Vovo was an immigrant, which didn't leave her very many career choices, so she became a stay-at-home mom. That woman hung my moon and stars. When I think of the model of fierce feminine energy and love for my childhood, it's her. But she didn't show Bill the same love she showed to me. My dad's father ended up leaving Zenedy for his mistress, who he also had children with, and it just broke her. In return, she was abused by my father mentally, verbally, physically, and emotionally. I heard from random family members that she was the meanest woman they'd ever met, but for some reason with me, she never raised her voice once or her hands. She only told my father that she loved him one time in his whole life. My heart breaks for the little boy in him who never healed. Bill attended a college prep school where he learned that musicians seemed to get all the ladies, so he taught himself how to play guitar and sing. He had a voice like Sting. Bill soon discovered that he could find the love of his mother never gave him in the different women he would meet. And until the day he passed, he chose abusive women who never deserved him, replaying the dynamic he had with his mother over and over again. Bill caused me no end of trauma, but we did have some good moments too. Bill caused me no end of trauma, but we had some good moments too, and those I will cherish for the rest of my life. I don't know, but that sentence is kind of hard for me to break. Bill caused me no end of trauma, so he caused me a lot of traumas. Yeah. We bonded over music. It was our thing. I listened with him for hours in our home studio, watching him sing and play guitar. Sometimes he'd call on me to be his backup singer. Billy Ocean never saw us coming. My dad would play Billy's tracks and replace Billy's vocals with his own over a microphone blasting through our studio, and I was his backup, ready to sing my heart out with my own mic in hand. If we were really into it, I'd do a backup singer shimmy like the girls I saw on MTV. He always encouraged me to get out in front as the star of the show, and when people came to visit, he had no problem hyping me up and letting me perform a full production with mics and background music. Those memories will forever make me smile. Mom was a stripper, and they met at the club Bill was 33 and when I was born, and Vanessa was apparently 22, but she liked to say that Dad made her lie about her age on my birth certificate. Dad always liked his girls young. The relationship was the typical stripper-musician toxic love affair. Mom was a drug addict and a paranoid schizophrenic, so lies were her only means of communication, and most of Dad's relationship with her was trying to sift through what was real and what was in her head. It was all partying, lying, screaming, and Dad eventually wound up in the hospital with hepatitis from shooting blow. They lied to me for years and said it was from food, but Bill later confirmed it was drug-related. While Dad recovered, Mom left me in a car seat on some stranger's doorstep and ran off with the organ player and Dad's band. Dang, didn't see that coming. Going to the lengths I am now to have a child of my own, I could never imagine abandoning my baby and not having a care in the world about what happened to her. Some women just weren't meant to be mothers. Dad got out of the hospital and hunted me down. I was locked in a closet on the other side of town when he found me. He divorced Mom and sued for full custody of me, and honestly, rightfully so. Again, what the fuck, Vanessa? Mom didn't put up a fight, and Dad became my sole parent. She wouldn't re-enter the scene until one night on AOL Instant Messenger when I was 22. I wouldn't physically hug my mom until I was 36. When she left, so Vanessa is the mother, yeah, okay. So when she left, I was 3 months old. After Mom ran out and she and Dad divorced, it was just me, Bill, and his group of best friends. I called them all my uncles. And they'd take toddler me to bars, sit me up on the pinball machine, and let me watch the flashing lights for hours. Some kids had toys. I had 3 men and a barmaid. Babies and bars. What a time to be alive. My goodness. Dad said it was his fault. I've always been attracted to bright lights and glittery things. It all began on that pinball machine. My job was to be the comic relief. All I wanted was to make him laugh, especially when things got hard. If I could get Bill to crack a smile, the world would be okay. I wonder why she doesn't use Mom and Dad. But anyways, even until his last days, I was trying to make the man laugh. I never cried out in front of him. I couldn't let my guard down that way. I'd rather fight back tears than let him see me be weak. He was a rocker raising a little girl, and it definitely wasn't 3 meals a day for me. He used to feed me cheese and raw hot dogs, which he kept in his jacket pocket. Years later, I had to break the habit of eating raw hot dogs once I finally started taking care of myself. I love those fucking things. And Vienna sausages. Don't judge me. There were always women around coming in and out of our place. I saw everything. Bill had a bad habit of bringing women home and doing the deed right in front of me when I was a young child. Dang. That's messed up. When I was a young child, literally in the living room where I was supposed to be sleeping. I may have only been 2 or 3, and maybe he thought I wouldn't notice or understand, or that I wouldn't remember, but those memories are forever burned into my brain. I've seen women passed out on our couch. I've seen them stay the same age as he got older. None of them stuck around for long, and there were always more of them for Bill to choose from. This went on until one day when I was 5 years old and Mindy entered the picture. Everything was about to change. I was a tiny kid sitting on a big motorcycle with Dad. Oh, she does say Dad then. When Mindy came up to me and introduced herself. "I'm Mindy," she said. "I'm going to be your new mom." Instantly, my defenses went up. My new mom? Is this woman insane? Does she not know the line of women my pops has going? Get a grip, lady. Right off the bat, I sensed that she wasn't a good person. I was only 5, but I could see right through her facade. Reading people's energy came early for me, and there was a sinister power just radiating off of her. It pulsed stronger as she flashed me a fake smile. To her irritation, I didn't reply right away. I kept looking down, tinkering with the keys and the ignition on the bike. I had 1,000 thoughts running through my head. Bill could tell me I wanted to leave, but he told me, "Be nice, Alyssa." I managed to smile at her and giggle, but I knew this shit show was about to start. It went from that conversation right into the unholy matrimony. I begged him not to marry her. I screamed and pleaded. I knew what my life would look like with her, and she proved me right the minute she came home with us. Screaming, dragging me by the arm until I thought my shoulder might come loose. She didn't raise a hand to me yet, but I knew it was coming. But Bill didn't listen to me. He never listened. Come 2 months later, I was the flower girl in their wedding. Terrified and furious, I sulked through the entire ceremony. My life was blowing up, and I was losing my dad to the Wicked Witch of the South. I wasn't going down this unholy union without a fight. I did everything I could to make that wedding miserable for everyone. She had picked the most hideous powder blue bridesmaid dresses, the fluffy frill 1980s frocks from hell. I was so mad I was being forced to even be in this clown show that I ripped the shit out of my dress. I tore it to shreds. To this day, I can't wear blue clothes or even blue eyeshadow because of that blue dream scene they chose for a wedding. Barf. They had to throw me in a stairwell to scream it out alone. And without anyone watching me, I ran up and down the stairs, hell on wheels, absolutely losing my shit. Pretending to be Alice in Wonderland and escaping from my reality. Finally, the ceremony was over. Do you want to call me Mindy or Mommy? She asked, immediately after they said I do. I looked up at her like, what the fuck, lady? You have been married for an hour and you're already trying to assert power? Mindy, I said flatly. I could tell it bothered her, but I didn't care. Mindy used to play manipulative, dramatic games where she'd pretend her feelings were hurt to get what she wanted. She'd curl her bottom lip and make her eyes tear up. It was hideous. You guessed it. The waterworks started. So Dad came over to investigate. She won't call me Mom, Mindy said. I might have to take a break in a second. I gotta refill my H2O. Let's see what we got going on here. If you guys are just tuning in, it's Gwen, and I'm just reading Stripped Down by Bunny XO. Alyssa, you don't have a mom. Just call her Mom, he said, trying to be the hero for his new bride. I gritted my teeth and balled my fist. Rage also came early for me, but he was my paps and the only person I respected. I did what he said. Reluctantly, I started calling Mindy Mom. They held the reception at a bar in an old train caboose. We were all there. Family, Mindy's friends, Dad's crew of uncles, partying like crazy. I was still pissed and spent the event running around like a wild banshee. What a sight to see. The misery I felt came across loud and clear. My dress was torn and my face was puffy from crying. I went into the bathroom to sob my eyes out some more, and when I looked up, I saw the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. She had thick, jet black hair and sparkling blue eyes. She leaned down so she was face to face with me. I'll never forget the way I felt when I looked at her face. I'd never seen someone so beautiful, and I was transfixed. My disdain for Mindy must have been seeping through my pores. You're not happy your dad married her, huh? I shook my head. This lady knew me. I felt seen. We were connected. She was an angel sent from above. She's mean to you, isn't she? My eyes went wide, and my jaw dropped to the floor. How did she know about that? How did she know Mindy already talked to me like I was lower than her, lower than dirt? That she'd already raised her voice to me and threatened her hands, and then sweetly pretended nothing had happened? And how did this stranger know exactly what I already intuited? That once Mindy and Bill were married, she was only going to get unimaginably worse. And I nodded. Do you want to come home with me? She asked sweetly. Yes, I said. I was a kid and she was so beautiful and warm. I just needed someone to be nice to me and take care of me. And I never felt that kind of motherly love. She felt like that. And she was a way out, an escape. Fuck yeah, I'm going with you. At 5 years old? I don't know. My new mom took my hand and we walked out into the bar. There was a back kitchen with an exit door and she started leading me in that direction. This was it, home free. Fuck you, Mindy. Yank. Someone grabbed my new mom by her hair so hard her feet flew off the damn ground. The next thing I knew, Mindy picked up a wine glass and smashed it over the beautiful lady's face. Blood poured everywhere and Mindy beat the living shit out of her. Knowing how Bill operated, I'm guessing that beautiful, nice lady was one of his ex-girlfriends or side chicks, who was just as pissed as I was about the nuptials. Forgive me. Putting two and two together all these years later, it's clear that she was trying to use me as some kind of pawn against my dad, the prettiest, gentlest kidnapper you ever saw. But till the day he died, Bill still swore he didn't know who that woman was. He said she was just some random lady at the bar. Sure. I don't think about what would have happened if we'd made it out the door. God wanted me to stay. God wanted me to have this life. But in the bar that night, I was scared and angry and hurt. Mindy was kicking that woman's ass. Everybody was fucked up and rowdy, and my dad scooped me up and took me outside and threw me into the car. We ended the night running like hell from the cops, and when we got home, Bill spanked me to hell and back and grounded me. Knowing what I know now, it was the perfect start to our new life together as a family. Bill had a knack for marrying jealous women. He didn't do much to make them trust him. Mindy hated that I was from another one of my dad's relationships, so she tried to separate us as much as possible. It went from just Dad and me against the world to Mindy lying about things I'd done to get me in trouble and drive a wedge between me and the only parent I'd ever known. Her parenting style was less Mary Poppins and more Mommy Dearest. She was 5'10", platinum blonde, and meaner than a junkyard dog. The abuse started early and started with Mindy. She'd go on to introduce me to her sister, who joined in on the abuse, but we'll get there. And the line continued on from there. I too was abusive and picked one abusive man after the other, whether it was emotional, mental, or physical. And if my man wasn't already abusive, I made him abusive. Eventually, I got to the unholy grail of vile men, the final wannabe boss who almost ended my life. But it all began with Mindy. If I knew Mindy was evil from the start, she must have thought the same thing about me, even though I was just a kid. Remember, I was 5. Right away, she put me to work. Anything she wanted done around the house was my job. She screamed all the fucking time and ruled with her fist. Was this motherly love? No thanks. But she was the only mother figure I'd ever had, and even though I feared her, I looked up to her in a twisted way. She taught me that love meant violence, and like the men who would put their hands on me later, she would always come crawling back after hurting me and say she was sorry. But looking up to Mindy made things confusing. And as much hell as she had put me through, she also taught me how to be a woman. Every morning, even when she wasn't working, she would get up, do her hair, do her makeup, and I would sit and watch her. Every morning that you get up is a new day, she said. You'd make sure you do your hair, you do your makeup. No matter what happens throughout the day, you'll feel good. Should have took her advice on that today. I just got out of the pool, so forgive my pool hair and overalls, whatever. Just thought you might like some literature reading with me here. But, anyways, carrying on. She taught me to cross my legs when I sat, something I'd teach our daughter when we got custody of her years later. Mindy would put books on my head and make me walk, so I learned to stand up straight. That's cool. I always thought that was like a cool technique. She taught me to be poised. She taught me how to keep a house. She taught me how to keep a man. For those things, I am grateful. I guess if she was going to make my life a living hell, the least she could do was teach me to be the perfect wife. Mindy was beautiful. She was also a busty blonde cowgirl. Hey! Just kidding. I'm not feeling very busty after losing all this weight. But, anyways, she was also a busty blonde cowgirl with a southern draw. But she was also 17 when she married my dad. He was 37. Holy moly. Like I said, he liked his girls young. Insert side eye right here. Her chemical engineer dad and over-the-top beautiful mom sent lavish gifts, held money over their kids' heads, and pretty much hung them out to dry. The fact that they let a 17-year-old child marry a 37-year-old man speaks volumes. She came from a severely abusive home, and I saw that firsthand. I know what type of hell Mindy came from, and I feel for her, ironically, because she brought the same hell to me. Years later, Mindy apologized. I was a child raising a child. She said, I didn't know any better. I know there's truth to that, but she was so fucking young. She was so fucking young. I'm gonna not cuss, I'm gonna bleep them. But anyways, the years of abuse she inflicted on me made it darn near impossible to trust a word she was saying. I still can't help but wonder if she only asked for forgiveness because she knew that I was becoming someone worth a damn, someone who got out of the life she made for me. I wonder if she saw my star rising and figured she'd better get right with me. I forgave her for myself, but I never forgot. I'll never forget the first time Mindy really flipped out on me. She had taken me to her doctor's office visit, and somehow in the middle of the waiting room, some old man picked me up and put me on his knee. Now why the F we're letting strange men hold our daughters, I'll never understand. He asked me if I had a favorite song, and of course I did. Madonna Raised Me. And then he asked me in front of everyone in the waiting room to sing it to him. So I did. I cleared my throat. Like a virgin, touched for the very first time. Like a virgin. Sorry, I'm a bit parched. Alyssa Andrea, Mindy shrieked, yanking me off the old man's lap and smacking my booty right there in the waiting room. I had no idea what I had done wrong. I was 6 at the time. I had no idea what the hell a virgin was. I just knew it was the jam. The entire way home, she slapped me across the legs. How dare I humiliate her like that? It didn't matter to her that I had been humiliated. Picking up onto some strange man's lap and then having my ass beat in front of everyone for doing something I didn't understand. But as much as Mindy ruled with an iron fist, she protected me too. Talk about confusing. If a boy came around who she didn't like, she'd go get the shotgun. If someone talked ish about me, then she'd fight them without a second thought, even if she'd punish me for her trouble with closed fists when we were back home. Over the next 20 years, I'd confused that kind of fierceness with love. I hated her, but I respected her, and I'm grateful to her, too. If it weren't for her, I'd still be eating those raw hot dogs out of Dad's coat pocket. But as much of a monster as Mindy was, she was nothing compared to her sister. Chapter 3. Not an effing Disney movie. Andy was Mindy's youngest sister, and she was model gorgeous. I swear to God, she stood 6 feet tall with the most perfect beachy blonde hair and the longest legs, all natural. She had big brown eyes that looked straight out of a magazine, and when 17-year-old Mindy became my stepmom, Andy had just become a teenager. But to my child's brain, she didn't seem like a young kid. She seemed like a full-grown adult with all the power. I'd watch her put her makeup on and brush her long, perfect hair as she got ready for dates. All the boys lined up for her, and she knew that she had the it factor they all wanted. Growing up in the same household Mindy grew up in, Andy experienced the same abuse, a lot of it. Being a survivor of abuse, it was only natural that she'd inflict her pain on someone else. Isn't that how pain works? You bleed on the people who didn't cut you. I like that quote. If you guys are just tuning in, I'm reading Stripped Down, Unfiltered and Unapologetic by Bunny XO for the first time. And I might have to cut short here because I got to do a water refill, but I'll probably pop back on and keep reading because it's pretty good so far. Alright, so you bleed on the people who didn't cut you. I know what she'd found with me, a way to feel some kind of control. He abused her, so she abused me. It was all she knew. She'd been taught that love hurts, so she taught me the same lesson. Andy would come to Mindy and Bill's house to babysit me while they were out at work or partying, and we had a routine. She'd pour some of my parents' cheap boxed wine into one of our many crystal wine glasses and hand it to me. My parents made sure we always had a fully stocked bar wherever we lived. Drink, she'd say, and I'd take a sip, even if it tasted like rubbing alcohol and burned my mouth, even if I was only barely 5 years old. Then she'd put me on the couch and smirk. Okay, lizard, she'd say sarcastically, using the nickname my father so lovingly gave me. Let's watch a Disney movie. I knew she wasn't talking about effin' Cinderella. We'd been through this plenty of times. I'd keep sipping my wine, and she'd put on the movie. It was always porn. Corn? Wow. usually, wow, this is getting pretty. My sister did warn me that it was kind of sexual. So, okay. So, we're talking about a 5-year-old getting babysitted by her stepsister when she was barely 5. Sorry, that just kind of struck me. I'd keep sipping my wine and she'd put on the movie. It was always usually corn, usually lesbian corn, with women not too much older than her. Nowadays, I wonder if she was experimenting. God, these flies, was experimenting with something, or if she had some kind of deep hatred of men, after what her dad did to her and didn't want to watch them get off. But back then, I didn't understand what I was watching. I didn't know ish about sex or lesbians. I just knew this wasn't a effing Disney movie. I knew something was wrong. That this wasn't an effing Disney movie. I knew something was wrong and that it made me feel funny. I wanted it to stop. I don't remember Andy ever molesting me. She didn't touch me like that. That's not to say she didn't lay a hand on me. She definitely did. I didn't say a word about the corn to Bill or Mindy because Andy threatened to beat my ass like she had over and over since the day we met. She would always threaten me while hanging me upside down by my Achilles tendons on both ankles. It was torture and she did it all the time. But when she'd put on those Disney movies, we would just sit on the couch next to each other watching like she was showing me her favorite movie and I was drinking high C in my sippy cup. It was our thing we did together. I guess this is what families do. When my parents got home from wherever they were, I'd lie and say we watched the fairy godmother turn Cinderella into a princess. Andy would beat the dog-ish out of me when she was bored or angry or frustrated. It didn't take much time, and then she'd love on me like nothing had happened. Mindy was the same way. They'd hurt you and then flip the switch to turn on the southern charm. Oh, honey, you know I love you, right? I couldn't wait to get out of that effing family of two-faced fakers. To this day, I can't stand fake people. Be real or don't talk to me. If I do the math, Mindy was probably pretty damn pregnant with my little sister, baby sis, when she married Bill. This chubby-cheeked cherub we later would lovingly call Burger showed up in August 1985, and I was officially a big sister. I was excited to be a big sister, but Mindy made it clear that I was no longer a part of the family. I wasn't worth ish, she told me, because my own mom was a stripper who showed me her boobies to men in clubs. It didn't bother me at all that my mom danced. I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. Sounds like she was just like one of those women in the movies her sister made me watch. It even sounded fun. But Mindy said we were trash, and in the family of Mindy, Bill, and baby sis, I was the wicked stepchild who was a constant reminder that there were women before me. I was 5 when the son of a family friend who was visiting got into bed with me and started me down the path of sexual trauma. I was 5. She said she was 5 years old. I was 5 years old when the son of a family friend who was visiting got into bed with me and started me down the path of sexual trauma. He was so much older, about 16 or 17. For some unknown reason, my parents thought it would be a great idea to let him sleep in my strawberry shortcake-themed bedroom, then even let him sleep in my bed, and I had to sleep on the floor. Who is this man? A family friend who was visiting. For some unknown reasons, my parents thought it was and even let him sleep and then I had to sleep on the floor. I was a water baby. If it was summertime, I had a bathing suit on, especially my aqua one with the ruffles. I'd play my heart out that day at a family barbecue and must have just passed out in this bathing suit. Suddenly, I snapped awake. Someone was tugging at my bathing suit from the bottom. He slid it to the side, and I felt my fingers on my vishish and someone spreading my lips open. Wow, I don't know if this is appropriate to be reading this. I opened my eyes just a little bit. I was too scared to react, but I saw who was touching me. I don't know if I feel comfortable continuing to read this out loud to you guys. Is anybody watching? If you guys are watching, I am reading Stripped Down by Bunny XO, Jelly Roll's wife. And it's starting to get a little much for something I would want to put on Facebook. Maybe I should have read it first, but this is the first. So, okay, well, we'll see. I don't know how I feel about continuing on with this, but okay, so as he poked and prodded around, all that was flashing in my mind were the corn videos Aunt Andy had shown me. This is what they do? Why does this feel so scary? Surely the people in the video don't feel like this. He flipped me on my stomach as I pretended I was still asleep and spread my body open and ran his finger over my... I'm changing words here, and this is pretty vulgar. Or just... yeah. I don't think I'm comfortable reading this out loud. Okay, it changes pretty quick, so okay, let's just get through it. I was still asleep. He spread my body open and ran his fingers over my bottom hole. Fury started building up inside of me. Why is everybody so effed up? Remember how I've said God has always divinely protected me? He didn't let me down this time either. Suddenly my ear burst into pain. It felt like my eardrum had popped. I screamed so loud that it scared the ish out of him, and he got back into bed. I ran to my parents' room hollering from the pain, and in front of Bill and Mindy, I was so focused on my ear and wanting the pain to stop that I didn't tell them what he'd done. To this day, I regret keeping quiet because years later I found out that he had been violently raping his own sister. He did it to her for years. It broke my heart when she and I got closer later in life and shared our traumas. Mine was nothing near what she had gone through. I wish I could have saved her. 5 years old. Sick. In Texas, we lived in a duplex with a huge front yard, and Bill and Mindy used to throw me outside and lock the door so they could party, drink, and do drugs. Whatever they wanted. Baby sis was just a baby and got to stay inside, but they left me to entertain myself for hours on end. We had a boat on the side of the house, and I could kill a whole afternoon alone out there sailing the high seas. My imagination was my best friend as a child, and I always made my own fun, even as lonely as I was. I didn't think about whether or not I was safe outside, and Andy's weird antics, that effing family friend, and Mindy's temper. I wasn't safe around anyone older than me. Alone outside, I felt free. Okay. But it's not surprising that some sick, twisted men saw an opportunity when they came across a little girl like me all alone. It doesn't take much to tell that a kid is vulnerable and pretty easy. It's exactly what happened at Bill and Mindy's wedding with that dark-haired woman. I guess I was an easy target. See, that's the type of stuff. And I just want to say that, not this, but yeah, I'm not going to be posting pictures of my nieces anymore. It's just, the world is weird, and this type of stuff, it's getting to be just too dangerous. And anyways, carrying on. With a rusty brown van pulled up and two guys got out, they pulled the same thing. Do you want to come play with us? One of them asked. I can't remember what they looked like, just that they made me queasy with anxiety. You look like you need a friend, the other said as they stalked closer to me. I remember the fear as clearly as if it were happening right this very moment. They're going to take me away. They're going to hurt me. Like I said, my gift is seeing people for who they are. It was the kind of fear that was so intense you feel like your feet have lifted up off the ground. Something inside of me said, run. I took off sprinting towards my parents' house. The door was locked like always. I could hear their loud music from inside. I pounded on the door with my little hands, terrified the men were right behind me. Someone finally answered and I fell inside, but when I told them men had tried to take me, Bill and Mindy didn't believe me. They rolled their eyes and went back out to whatever they were doing. They kept on locking me outside, and now I was scared. I got back in the damn boat and played my games. There just weren't any other options, so I was going to make it work. One afternoon on the boat, a crusty old bearded man came up and knocked on the deck. I eyed him and stood back, disgusted by his sick smile. These flies. You guys are probably thinking, like, what the hell? Why are all these flies? I took on... They kept locking me outside. A crusty old man came to the deck. I eyed him and stood back, disgusted by his sick smile. Do you want to play Milk the Snake? He asked. What's Milk the Snake? I asked. I must have been about 6. I guess first grade hadn't covered milking snakes yet. Milk the snake, he said, stepping back from the boat and showed me his parts. Have you ever milked a snake? I'd never seen a man's, in real life before, only on the corns Dad watched and the ones Andy showed me, but it absolutely repulsed me. He was jerking off and not, sorry, it's just uncomfortable for me to read this out loud in front of people. Anyways, not like I knew what that even was, and when he finished, my whole body rebelled. I started screaming my head off, and the dude pulled up his pants and ran. I screamed and screamed and ran back to the locked door and pounded again. This time, Mindy actually believed me when I described what happened. She must have figured someone had made me scream like that, and how would I know what ejaculation looked like? Mindy let me stay inside that day, but come the next morning I was out on the boat with the door locked behind me. That is so messed up. Over the next few years, they'd put me to work more and more. It would become my job to pick up the dog-ish in the whole yard. They wouldn't let me use a shovel because the whole point was to keep me occupied and out of the house. Mindy gave me barbecue tongs, and I had to pick up one tiny piece at a time over an acre of land. Yep, you heard it right. Barbecue tongs that flip chicken. Did I mention we had 13 dogs? Oh, hell no. Those Cocker Spaniels wouldn't stop effing each other. If I so much looked at a shovel, I'd get in trouble. I was like any kid, and I wanted to be normal. I wanted to go play, but I had jobs to do. Okay, so having chores at 6 isn't really weird, but the tongs thing, I don't know. But, okay, anyways, I had jobs to do, so I started making all my chores into a game or a challenge in my head. How fast can I get this done? And then after that, it was off to weed and mow the lawn. I swear they thought I was their servant. We had chores as kids. Well, I was outside tweezering, she says, tweezering dog-ish. My dad would sit on his computer all day, every day. He had 2 screens going, and he'd pretend to be trading stocks, but I know he had a secret online life of chat rooms and weird-ish. He was obsessed with corn, and he'd watched it in our living room TV. I'll never forget the time I saw him sitting in the damn dining room table, craning his neck at the TV in the living room. From my own room, I could see the TV and the naked women getting plowed. I told Mindy what I'd seen the next day, and you better believe Bill grounded me for snitching him out. I don't know what he was doing at the dining room table, and I sure as hell don't want to know. Those early years were a fast track to adulthood. There weren't any moments of just being a kid. Those weren't allowed. Plus, who was going to clean the house? Who was going to make sure Bill and Mindy didn't kill each other? Being a child just wasn't in my cards, and it affected me to this day. And it affects me to this day. I struggle to relax or do the things I wished I could have done as a kid. I'm not programmed to have fun. I'm programmed to work. It's all I've ever known. Next chapter is called Hey God, Is That You? And I think I'm actually going to take a break for a minute. So we're on chapter 4, page 25. I'm going to take a break. Hopefully you guys enjoyed listening to me read a bit of literature. Again, it's funny, stripped down, unfiltered, and unapologetic. It's my first time reading. I hope you guys have a great day. I might pop in back later and read some more, but I'm going to refresh my agua and relax in Mother Nature. Enjoy the sunshine. Mwah. I love you guys. Have a great day. And how do I end? All right, bear with me. I haven't done this in a while. All right, see you.